First 2 years of my PhD was so depressing. I was anxious, I was frustrated, I was getting results, I was submitting it, I was getting a negative feedback every now and it used to affect my work performance later. I felt like whatever I was doing, it was not contributing to anything. I started getting health issues, I started getting all hives, skin rashes and all that because of all the stress and things that were manifesting on my body. And it was a very tough space for me. Since I had just started the program, I can be a tough bread to deal with. So I don't blame anyone. If you are somebody who is hypersensitive, emotional, where the work performance gets affected by the feedback you receive, then this video is for you. But then I did few things that changed the game for me. And the results that I was struggling to get for 2 years, I got in next 6 months. So what was that? What did I do? And what is the science and logic behind it? Science, I don't know, but what is the way out of all this that we will see in today's video. All this emotional tangle really made me introspect and try to understand how things were going for me and what was the way ahead. Because if this is the pattern that is going to continue, then nowhere I will be able to finish the target and I won't be able to do it. I took therapy, few sessions, and I realized certain patterns that were triggering me and few things, and my tendency to overestimate what other people think rather than rely on my own self-worth. These things I have spoken in much detail on my channel, so you can check the mindset playlist. I've covered frustration, self-doubt, all things I've covered. Here the video is specifically practical to what you can do as a research scholar. Certain things that were bothering me, that were not getting outlet, and I could not tell it to anyone because, as you know, I joined the program after some work experience. So the people who were there in my lab could not relate to what was going in my head, and I could not relate to them behaving like spoiled brats. Some of them. I had a chat with one of my seniors. He said something that I will never forget. That actually helped me in a lot of these things. When your supervisor tells you something, if you are the sensitive and emotional type, you tend to overvalue that opinion. At the end of the day, it's your PhD. What I'm trying to say is that if, say, suppose there is a technique that you have to perform, okay? So my lab is wet lab work, so I can think only in terms of technique. But say suppose there is something that you have to perform. Your supervisor has told you something else, okay, which contradicts your knowledge of that topic and you don't like it. So what you can do is do what he or she says side by side, and you also continue your experiments as per your protocol. Instead of putting one thing above other, you can do things parallelly. Now you may have one question. What if you discard what you think? You do continuously what the supervisor thinks. That option is also open. But what happens is that when your desires or your intelligence gets suppressed, then in some or the other way, it will turn into resentment towards the supervisor. And further it will stop the growth. That time it may not happen like that, but down the lane as the years pass by, as humans what we do is we generally expect positive feedback when things go right and negative feedback when things go wrong. But if you have a supervisor who is hypercritical, if it's affecting you to the point that your work performance gets affected, because of whatever issues, you need to do this, you need to objectify. Obviously, there is an option to leave. That option is always open. But if for whatever reasons you are not leaving, then this is the way to go. How do I put it? Not everyone is concerned about process. I've met several people who are very much end oriented. I'm not like that, but I know of people who are end oriented and maybe it works for them. It may not work for everyone. So if you have a supervisor who is of such qualities, then these are the things that you need to go in for. Secondly, I would like to emphasize that just because there is a suggestion does not mean that there is a need to implement it. So this goes to positive feedback as well as negative feedback. Many of the times we have this culture in academia that if you keep pointing out the flaws, then there will be progress. I don't subscribe to that view. As a research scholar, you cannot do much about it. This just goes on to show the impact of mindset. As I said earlier, the results that I was struggling to get for 2 years, I got in next 6 months. So this is one realization, and this realization I got after therapy. I cannot recommend therapy enough. If you are a research scholar and at whatever stage, and you are not able to kind of accept things, okay, and you still want to continue, you don't want to leave, then taking the therapy could be the best thing you can ever do. You need not do it for 1 year or 2 years. You can just take one session, that will be sufficient. There are so many affordable options nowadays, and post-pandemic things have become quite open and quite welcoming as far as mental health is concerned. I just want to say that you being emotional or hypersensitive is a character trait that is going to help you in your PhD, and it will also help you in the career. This YouTube channel is a result of my hypersensitive nature, because I could clearly see the gap in PhD. Okay, it's an unorganized industry. There is no accountability. The focus is too much on the start and on publication results, but there is no focus on the process. That is the reason why research scholars leave PhDs within few years of enrollment. So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind if you are of this nature, and trust me, it is the best. Being hypersensitive and emotional is the best thing that can happen. Today's video is quite an emotional one for me. When I look back at first year Aatiya, there is such a stark contrast. I'm so glad of the journey. It really reflects on how mindset can make or break anything, and specifically PhD. I didn't know whether I should do this video because still I'm doing my PhD. I had to share it with you. My PhD has been an emotional journey for me rather than an intellectual one. I don't know about results, but I'm so proud of the kind of person that I've become. I wish you all the best and see you in the next video.